Hey friends, it's Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome today to the Traci Reed Designs blog. I will be sharing this layout, my process for creating it in Photoshop and specifically creating these sunburst shapes. And I'm working with the Poolside collection, notably the Poolside Add-On. Now this is available just for a time. I will have the link down below to the Poolside collection and to this fun, incredibly awesome add-on for you. If you look down below and the add-on is gone, that means it's no longer available. But I do believe that there are plenty of opportunities within the Poolside collection itself to recreate a similar layout. And I noticed several members of the creative team also did similar layouts using these sunburst shapes. They're particularly dynamic for your scrapbook layouts and fit this sort of watermelon theme here that I'm going with for this page. And so this is what I designed the page to look like in Photoshop. And then I want to show you how I created those sunburst shapes. I've pulled up the sunburst pattern paper from the add-on. There's also a sunshine version of it in the collection itself. And what I'm doing here is using the quick object selection tool on the left-hand toolbar in Photoshop. And I'm just clicking on each ray of color. I'm holding down the Shift key as I'm doing this, and then right-click on one of the starburst colors and select Layer via Copy. And what that's going to do is it's going to copy just those starburst colors. Then when you turn off the original pattern paper layer that's on, you'll see your shapes. Now what I'm doing here is in the rectangle tool, also on the left-hand side of your Photoshop screen, select ellipse tool and draw your circle. Hold down the Shift key on a PC, hold down your Shift key, and drag your mouse across to draw the shape that you want, to draw the circle shape. And then once again, right-click on your layer and select Layer via Copy, and then you will have that circle shape. Now, once I did that, I also duplicated that layer and copied, sized the duplicate layer down to create the two different sizes. So what I've done is brought the starburst into its own tab in Photoshop, and I brought in the pattern papers that I want to clip to this shape. And so the first one I'm working with here is the green, and it has a slight gradient into the yellow, which I want to have just a little tiny bit of that. And so what I'm doing is adjusting just that green ray where I want it. And then taking the polygonal lasso tool, I'm drawing around just the area that I want to clip to the sunburst shape. And so once you do that, drag your pattern paper up and turn that layer off, and then go back to your layer that you just drew with your polygonal lasso tool and clip that to the shape. And now you can see the green with gradiating just a little bit. Is that a word? Gradiating? Gradient, with the gradient slightly into the yellow, just to give that a little bit of texture. And I'm going to do that again with the watermelon pattern paper here. I want to clip that to the pink ray. And so again, I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool and right click, select layer via copy, drag the entire pattern paper up and turn it off, and then right click on the new shape that we drew and clip that to the starburst shape. And so hopefully now you can see how I achieved the sunburst shape, and also how I've clipped those pattern papers to the sunburst shape as well. Now, there was a little tiny hiccup here when I brought it into the silhouette to have the silhouette print and cut. First and foremost, what I want to say is I print my 12 by 12 prints out on 13 by 19 photo paper, and I'll share more about that at the end of this clip. But what I found was that when I brought it into the silhouette picked up all of the pixels on each line. So what I'm doing here is in the point editing tool in Silhouette, you click on, to activate that tool, you click on the red outside line, and you're going to see all these gray dots, and all those gray dots tell the silhouette where to cut, where to change direction. And the first thing I did was hit the simplify button in this dialog box. And then I'm clicking on each line and deleting all the points within those stretches of line, so that it cuts a more smooth line on each of these sunbursts. I keep wanting to call it a starburst, but this really is the sun. Each of these rays, we want the lines to be cut obviously as smooth as possible. And yes, this does take just a few minutes of your time, but it's well worth it to get a good cut and to have the sunburst print and cut the way you want it to do. I did that to both of the sunbursts, and then as I mentioned, I printed on 13 by 19 photo paper. And when you place that, when you select 13 by 19 in your Silhouette printer dialog box, it will automatically place that 12 by 12 item where it needs to be on one corner of the page. And so then when you go to cut it out, you can measure 12 across from the farthest side and 12 across from the bottom going up to measure out your 12 by 12. Cut that down and then run it through your silhouette. Alright, so I've got everything printed and cut, and I'm going now to the physical portion of this layout. So what I'm showing you here, first off, my photo, it's printed off at about 3 3/4 square, and then these are the sunbursts printed out. And then you can see the background here created with the plaid in the add-on kit and the mixed media in the add-on kit. And when I placed that mixed media in Photoshop, I did it strategically so that what is showing on the outside of the sunburst is actually the colors related to what's in the sunburst itself. So I'm going to go ahead here and glue these down, and now you'll be able to get a more accurate feel for how the mixed media background relates to the starburst background. It does look a bit messy when it was first printed out before the sunbursts were placed, and that's all part of it. Creating this exciting background here and giving you the feeling of the sun, the feeling of this burst of flavor that you get from eating watermelons and the sheer delight of it. and how this is an important part of our summers here in our family that we enjoy every year. We're kind of nuts about it. So I'm going to go ahead, once those sunbursts are down on the page, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the photo. I did decide to angle it a little bit, just to play more into that casual feel, that kind of dynamic excitement here that's consistent throughout the layout, and just go off the grid a little bit, right? Having some fun here. Now, there are some fabulous alphabets in the Poolside main kit, and that's how I have created my title here. What you see is the letters that make up the title that says Best Summer Treat. And I've taken the yellow, the green, the orange, the pink, and the blue colors and alternated those throughout. What I do is bring those up in Photoshop using a script. That is certainly another tutorial for another time. Let me know if you would like to see an easier way to do titles in Photoshop before you print them out. But then, of course, you know, when it's time to glue them down, it's still one at a time. And one thing I did also to help me was when I printed out the background layer, I left the letters where they were, but turned them into, I merged the layers so that they were just one element, and I added a stroke to them so that they have a simple little line, an inside stroke. And when you turn the fill down on those letter layers, then the letter outlines will show. The same with the larger Sunburst. That's how come there were lines on the background when it was printed out. That's so that I know where everything sort of belongs when I'm ready to glue everything down. So the journaling spot here is one of the elements in the add-on kit. I just simply added my journaling in Photoshop prior to printing it out, and I only printed out half of that bracket label. I love doing that. Just print out what you need. There's no need to use extra ink or extra blades and cutting mats in your silhouette. Just simply print what you need. That's my favorite part about planning these layouts in Photoshop. And of course, being able to create super dynamic elements just like this, just like these sunbursts here that I've done for this layout. I hope that this tutorial helps you to understand better how we accomplish that so that you can do that for yourself. Of course, these instructions are written out on the blog post as well. And so when you follow it written, you can follow it at your own pace. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm always available here and also on my social media accounts. I love to hear from you. Love to hear what your challenges are in Photoshop and Silhouette, especially for hybrid scrapbook layouts. And as always, I'm so glad that you joined me for this video today. Again, I'll have links to the blog posts down below, to the products here from the Traci Reed Designs shop, and I will see you back here again real soon. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.